Good morning and welcome to Warren County, Ohio. We think it's the best place in Ohio, maybe on earth. I am Pat South, Warren County Commissioner, and I am very excited this morning to welcome the Ohio Buckeye Institute for Public Policy Solutions to Warren County. Buckeye Institute for Public Policy happens to be nonpartisan and Ohio's only free market think tank research. This morning they're going to be unveiling information about two studies that they just recently finished that I think that all of you will find very interesting. I know I have on the information that I've been able to read thus far, and looking forward to the rest of the information that they'll be presenting. But before we actually get started, I would like to introduce you to Ron Magg, our state representative of the 35th District. Come on up, Matt.
Good morning, and thank you, Pat. I'm very excited to be here today. The Buckeye Institute is going to share with us the information that they have. The Buckeye Institute is a policy solutions in Ohio for the free market think tank. That's a leading independent source of research in community and economic growth and government transparency. To share this important research today, I want to introduce the president of Buckeye Institute, leading the Buckeye Institute for more than 4 years, Mr. David Hansen.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Commissioner, and I see Representative Jones here and some other commissioners as well. Well, I'm David Hansen. I'm president of the Buckeye Institute. We are a research organization, and let me just describe it a little bit more before we get into the presentation. We use the methods of quality empirical research, and we use those methods and we present these principles that Ohio is made more prosperous when there's economic freedom, individual liberty, personal responsibility, and limited government. And we present those principles in policy debates all across the state. We are centered in Columbus, but we're quite active. It's a big state. We spend a lot of time in Northeast Ohio, where the problems are pretty deep and seemingly intractable, but we're going to try to solve them, as well as down here in somewhat more functional Warren County, actually a whole lot more functional Warren County. We are releasing today a report that I think is of interest to local politics. It has a big impact. It really represents a battlefront for very major principles that are at stake. This is a report on the true economic impact of the Federal American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009, the so-called stimulus bill. The report is called The Economic Impact of Federal Spending on State Economic Performance and Ohio Perspective. But the principles that are in the report are applicable to local government as well. It is authored by two of the leading experts on the impact of government spending and taxes on overall economic vitality, and that is Donna Ardwin, who we'll be speaking to today, and Art Laffer, and other team members of their firm, Ardwin, Laffer, and More Econometrics. The stimulus bill's passage has created a feeding frenzy of support for many quarters. Some politicians want the vote-winning ribbon cuttings that a stimulus package promises. Special interests like the opportunity to get someone, namely the taxpayers, to pay for activities and items that have long been on their wish lists. Still others like their odds in influencing government better than in dealing with the marketplace, and so they welcome the stimulus bill as a means to beat their competition through better lobbying and better politics instead of better products and better services. To counter the feeding frenzy, the report is a much-needed reality check on the impact of the stimulus package, particularly here in Ohio, a place where our policies already put us in a severe disadvantage in the competition for jobs and prosperity in the 21st century global economy. The inconvenient truth is too many state and local politicians so conveniently forget. The federal money isn't free. It comes with a cost Ohio can ill afford, even lower prosperity, lower growth, fewer jobs. Ms. Ardwin will share with you key points about both her approach and findings, including these points, which I see as important for everyone here in this room to keep in mind. First, federal stimulus spending won't create jobs in net in Ohio. It will cost us jobs, at least 60,000 of them. The federal stimulus spending package is really a trap set on taxpayers. The feds want Ohio to expand ongoing government activities, but when the federal money is gone, Ohio state and local governments will either be forced or, as many here in the room can appreciate, have an excuse to raise taxes. I'm not saying you, of course, but you know who you're dealing with in terms of looking for excuses to raise taxes in the future. Because Ohio is not a net recipient from the federal government, because Ohio is a net recipient from the federal government, that is, we get more from the feds than we pay out in taxes, Ohio will be especially hard-pressed than other states to make up lost federal funding down the road. The dollars we directly observe that are coming from Washington will not take into account the hidden subsidies embedded in the flow of federal funds to Ohio. Once these funds are dried up, we'll find it even harder than our competitor states to get our public finances in order, and I think that's an important point down the road that I think Donna will be able to get into. Well, at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Donna Ardwin. Donna has served as the top finance advisor and executive for governors in 4 of the country's largest and fiscally most complex states, including Michigan, Florida, New York, and most recently in California. She now teams up with Dr. Art Laffer, a Cleveland native, and Steve Moore in her firm, Ardwin, Laffer, and Moore Econometrics. So I could turn it over to Donna, please.
Donna, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you, David.